look at today with you. I hope you're well, by the way, and thank you for joining me during the week, because I know it's the middle of the afternoon and quite late in the evening. But thank you very much for joining. And what I'm going to look at today is volume in skirts. So we've already I did the analysis of these two skirts, on this one and on this one, which you can't really see. I'm actually gonna hold on 1 second. I'm gonna put this down a bit. So they are all skirts about volume, and I'm actually wearing my own version of it. And can you see mine is a bit different? I now wish I would have done pleats here as well. But all it is can you see it's a square piece of fabric. So it's the skirt is stitched to your waist, and then instead of all being gathered up, it basically comes out, it stitches to itself, and then it just goes back into here. So all you're doing is, as the easiest, which is the yellow dress, you are literally, there's skirt is gathered in, but then all we've done is take an extra bit of fabric and stitch it on. So it's like a handkerchief skirt very much from the 20s, but it's a bit clever. It's quite nice because it's stitched shut. And what you can do, so you can either wear it like this for detail, or you can actually play around with it and sort of create different volumes. So if it's big enough, mine, I think I made mine slightly too small. This is a really old skirt. If it's big enough, you can actually sort of play around with it, and you get this sort of really nice 3D volume, which you hopefully can see. And yes, the dress has a really weird print on it. So can you see? I mean, you can do different volumes of the skirt. And if you actually made this even deeper, you could put a pocket in there as well. And it would actually be the perfect pocket height if you put it in there. So that is the basic principle of the skirt. And what I'm going to show you 3 skirts. The first one is this one, and I'm just going to show you quickly on the mannequin because it's so easy. And the second skirt, which is slightly trickier, is this one. But it doesn't have to be tricky, but I'm going to show you how to make that one using a block. And that's why I wanted to do this live, so I can show you the dress, because I think with drawings it's quite hard to imagine how easy it is. And it's really versatile if you use different fabrics, even if this is a remnant, and it's a really nice, I'm going to put it on here, it's a really nice wool, but it's got lots of viscose, so it's really stretchy. It's quite interesting. So that it works really well in like a woolly drapey fabric or rayon or something. So the first one I'm going to show you is the yellow one. The second one is this one on the block. And then the third one I wanted to show you, because it looks completely different, is this one. But the principle is sort of the same. So, and that's why I love about pattern cutting, that you can use one method and do lots of different versions. So you can really play around. So this mannequin looks slightly strange. There you go. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to change the angle. I mean, hopefully next time we can get my proper camera. So for the yellow dress, all we've done is you make your top however you want to, and then if you want to do a gathered skirt like the yellow one, I'm not going to go full screen. So if you want to have exactly the same as the yellow one, you would get the width of your fabric with the gathers in it. So it might be your waist measurement plus 50% extra, or I quite like to use my hip measurement plus 50% extra, because that gives you quite a nice gather. But all you do is if you imagine your top, and this is one of the once you learn to pattern cut, you start seeing stuff which costs thousands of pounds. Like that yellow dress is, I think it was nearly £2,000, and because it's Alexander McQueen, you think it has to be really special. But once you learn how to pattern cut, you actually realize, oh, I can do it really easy, because it's just a basic, really fitted top. And of course, you could make it as a skirt as well, with just a waistband, which would be nice. So the trick is just for the yellow dress or my dress, and I think I draped mine, is that when you then think how the only thing that you have to think about, and that's why I would drape it, is you think about how deep you want it to be. So if you make it too small, I think it can disappear a bit. So on the Alexander McQueen, it actually is big enough roughly to go all the way to the other side. So it's probably 2/3 of the front waist measurement. And then once you've done that, you put it back into your waist. So you can see it just drapes like this, down and up, and then you do the same at the front. And what you could do, of course, is that you do more than two. And I think somebody else has just joined us. So you have just joined on Patreon. Just click on the YouTube button at the bottom of your screen of the video, and then it takes you through the actual YouTube video, and you can comment, and I can see who you are. If you want me to know who you are, you might want to say incognito. But you can see this, even if the fabric is slightly wrinkly, you can see how it drapes down like the Alexander McQueen. And then basically, if you wear it more like that in a drapey fabric, then it will just go down. And then what you did, you just stitch these together like that. So where it meets the bodice, you just have to snip into it. So it's like stitching a corner. So you stitch all along to where you notches, you stop and double stitch back, then you stitch your detail, and then you need to just make sure you start stitching the skirt again exactly where you stop stitching. So it's really neat. But that's the only tricky bit, really. So that's a draped version. I am now going to show you how to draft the 1940s version. Are there any questions before I get started? Or are you as amazed as I was the first time I did it, how easy it is, and that you can now make a Alexander McQueen dress for probably the cost of your fabric and your time, of course. Oh, sorry, I'm wobbling. Okay. So if you're all happy, I'm going to switch over. Okay. How do you like this method? Because is it clear enough? Because that's the only thing I worry about. That's why I wanted to try it out. Can you see my writing at the moment, or is it really unclear? If it's okay, then I am happy. Good. So I'm going to get a piece of paper, and we already looked at it's this dress, the top one. Oh, you can see it, Sharon. That's fantastic. I think there's a little bit of a delay. So why is it not in focus? I'm going to lower it a little bit more. And hopefully I'll be better. If it's really bad, then next time I just do it on Zoom again. But this is quite nice because I can switch quite easy. So for the 40s one, which you could, the reason I think it's different is because, can you see on the Alexander McQueen and mine, it's just lots of volume at the hem. So therefore, you can sort of work out that it's just a square bit of fabric. And I'm great, it's in focus now. Thank you, Nergis. So whenever you see something like that, you can assume it's a square piece of fabric. I think sometimes you can get really worried. You think, oh, it has to be really clever, but more often than not, it will be really straightforward. But on this one, can you see the hem hasn't got a lot of volume? Therefore, I can assume that it is coming just out from the top. So therefore, I want to use my blocks to do that. So move out of the way. So I'm just going to trace around my front because it's identical, so I only need half. Find my pens. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to trace around it. And then this is quite straightforward because it's just growing out of the bodice. You might have seen different styles where it grows out of the waist, and that's a little bit more complicated. But because we're growing it out of the front, it's easier, and you can do it in two ways. I'm going to show you a super easy one first. So that is our center front. So from my dart, and I'm actually not, I think this might be slightly to the side of a dart, but it doesn't really, it's sort of up to you where you put it with stuff like that. It's basically, if you think about it, you want it to be at a point. If you make it too far to the side, it's sort of going to disappear. So you sort of want it, I think, either at the dart position or slightly towards the side seam. But I wouldn't put it, if it put it too close to the side seam, it changes the look. It still look nice, but it look different. So in my case, I'm going to go from the bottom of my waist, and I'm just going to draw a parallel line to the bottom and then up, and I'm going to cut into it. And at the same time, we want to pleat the whole central section. And I don't actually think they're full pleats because there's not much volume at the bottom. Can you see? It's quite straight. So I think they're quite narrow pleats. So what you can do for that, I'm just going to draw I'm going to draw across my dart because I'm going to change that into my first pleat and the pleats are all going in one direction. So where my dart position was, that's going to be my first pleat. And then what I would do is you would think how many pleats you want to add. So in this case, it's with my center front. So that's actually, I think I might be going in two directions. Can't really tell. So it's up to you in that case. I think I might be a central little box pleat, and then the pleats are going in either direction. Just the way they're drawn. So I think they're quite narrow. And actually, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 pleats, but you can also use the 4th and the 5th pleat as volume from here. So I'm going to show you both ways. So the easy one is just to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pleats. So if I want to make each pleat, for example, 2 centimeters deep, so I'm not making it deep, so I'm adding 4 centimeters because each pleat goes in and out. So you always have to add double you want your final width to be. So I have to add 20 centimeters, but I'm also going to use my dart, which is 2 centimeters in my case. So I'm just going to add the rest of it. And of course, you can just have it gathered. You don't have to do this. But that just gives you a detail. And then on this, you just, you can then mark the whole thing. It's 26. And I'm going to have 5 darts. So I need to have it divided by 6. So every 2 centimeters roughly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you're doing darts and you want to see how far you need to space it out, you always need to, if I want to have 5 darts, you need to divide it by 6 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. Got that right? I haven't, but I haven't got that right. This is a bit embarrassing. Sorry, I marked it differently. Okay, so let's try again. Let's see whether my maths is completely over the shop tonight. Because I'm working on half square, sometimes it's really confusing. Yes, that's better. Sorry about that. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 darts. Yeah. So I've divided it by 6, which gives me 5 darts. And then this is just you can make your pleat position. Sorry, not dart. You can have it either central from here, so that could be the. Depends how you want to mark it. So I'm always going to mark it like this. And when you do something like that, always double check at the end that it's still your original width, because as you can see, it can get a little bit confusing. So write it all down, and then you can also just work out that everything at the end, just count basically what's you measure this, and this. So either side of the pleat, so you know that it still fits in the end. But that's all you're pleating. And then you got 2 options. For both of them, we're gonna cut into here. And open it up. And the really basic option is that we're literally just gonna add a piece of fabric in there, and then it's gonna give us the same effect as this. So if we add a nice piece of paper in there, you then get the same amount, but rather than it being, I'm going to put a piece of paper behind it so I can glue it on for you. So again, you need to decide how deep you want that detail to be. So if again, I'm going to make it, for example, let's have a look how big that one is. So I think this, if you take that measurement here, then it goes all the way over to the other one. And that's actually how you can work it out. You literally just measure and go in proportion. So I know it's actually really massive because it is my original this twice and then twice again because it goes in and out. Oh, the clamor like, sorry, Nergis. These signs, they're little arrows. So it just means that these two get pleated together. So I don't know whatever one you want to use. I just use a little arrow like this. So it just means that these two go together. They lay on top. Which I think is correct. Some people like to mark all three. So get a piece. I'm a bit lazy. So when you make a pleat like this, I just always mark this bit and then I mark this bit as well, and then it folds over like that. So it folds on this and folds on that. But other people, if you're more precise, you can actually say you fold this and you fold that. And I mark it like that, but you can mark it all the way, but it works the same. So in this case, I've just marked it like that. And then I know these are the two fold lines and they both fold. And then it folds like that. So that's something I've now know. I have to be, I think it's a sort of marking. I don't know how you do it. Whether you use little arrows, where you write it down, whatever basically works for you. I think on old patterns, you literally just get notches. So to go back to our detail, if I actually do it quite big, can you see I'm getting lots of volume. It starts looking like this. So in that case, you will have to curve your hem again. And then let's see where this works. I'm going to just fold it again. Because I think this is the really basic method. So it will give you the look. But in a second, I'm going to show you another method. So this is our detail. And then what you need to do is from here, because we want this to be a fold line and to look straight, you draw a right angle and cut both of them together. And of course, if you add seam allowance normally first. I just want to show you something. So it looks like that. And mine, as you can see, it's still, if you pleat all of these, mine is still quite small. So it's not perfectly pleated, but it's pleated, okay? And that's where you would also, you pleat it all up and you double check it's still the measurement you need it to be. And you can see that detail is going to look like this. So that's a really easy way of doing it. And it will pleat down really nicely. And now just don't worry. Let me always know when something doesn't make sense. And Sharon, you know, if you both of you are wondering, then it's actually me who's not very clear. And I think there's certain things we all do differently as well. So I don't think there's a right or very wrong way of doing things with things like that. It's just personal, and we probably don't explain it enough because we all got our own methods and things that's natural, which it, of course isn't to anybody else. So it looks like that. So that's a really quick way of doing it because you just add the triangle. I'm also going to show you a slide. Do you want to see a slightly more complicated way of doing it, or would you rather see the circle skirt? You can choose. So I can, there's basically, actually I might, there's a way of creating with volume at the side. So I might do it on a different tutorial because it's slightly different. And I think, shall we look at the circle skirt? Do you want to say yes or no again? Circle skirt, yes or no? I need to slow down a bit, don't I? Oh, you did make for a choice. Sorry. I agree with Sharon. So do you both, does it both mean you would like the circle skirt? Circle skirt, yes or no? So I'm just gonna quickly wait for you and see what you want. Do you want a circle skirt? Yes, circle skirt, fantastic. I'm not going to mention the other skirt in case it confuses me again. So Sharon, are you happy for the circle skirt? Or you just said okay. I think it's a better idea if Sharon agrees. Yes, go ahead with the circle skirt. I hope that's the one you meant. But what I do is fantastic, Sharon. Because that's the same method. And then I want to show you the other method. I'm going to draw it for you because it looks a bit different and it works quite. It's proper flat pattern cutting. What I like about these is these are really logical geometric things. The other one, you end up looking, if that's your front skirt with sorry, I need to put that in the, if that's your skirt, your waistband, it looks more like this. So the skirt goes like this and then it sort of wraps around. So it's a slightly different method. So I'm going to show you that next time because you can also put that top, but it's, I'm pretty sure the one I showed you is this one is correct and it's easier. So this is more, maybe more 60s. So I'll show you another time. And Sharon, I'm glad you're always happy with what I show you. That's what I want to hear. Wonderful. So we're now going to do the circle skirt. I'm going to do the circle skirt on a quarter scale roughly, just because I know from experience that a circle skirt would be a massive pattern. And you know why I know? Because I've just done a drafting tip guide for, I think, next week for the Vionnet, the massive barrel shaped skirt, which is really beautiful. But I tried doing it in half scale and the pattern was this big. So I had to do it on circle scale. So I'm going to do this on circle scale as well. I'm quickly going to chat a bit about the maths, but I'm not going to do it to my waist because it's going to become to the half scale waist, because it becomes a massive pattern and it's quite hard to understand and see. So just a word of warning, but once you do it to your own waist, it should work perfectly. So let's have a look at the table. There we go. So okay, let's have a look. I'm not going to start with my blocks. I'm going to talk with the maths. And what you would do whenever you're doing a circle skirt, you need to work out your radius. So what you need to do is you need to do your waist circumference. So that's your waist measurement, wherever that is. So if it's, for example, 80, you put that in an online calculator, and I can put a link in the description below with some really good ones. Or you just Google workout radius from your waist, from your circumference, because your waist is your circumference. And then straight away, it will give you the radius. And I've got, and then you can use your compass, it's called, I think. One of those words I always forget. If you're working on a big skirt, you use your tape measure as your to work out the radius. I'm going to show you quickly. What you can basically use is if you put a pin in one end of your tape, you can then use the other side of your tape as your compass, or you might have a massive compass, but I just use my tape. And of course you can use a meter stick, and like my ruler here, for example, has a hole as well, so you can use it as a compass. You just have to go really slow. But I'm gonna just I'm gonna make this really tiny. So I'm just going to quickly draw in my radius. I'm going to redraw it in pen in a second so you can see it properly. So that's my waist. And on this skirt, you can see, I think that's a full circle skirt. And then at the back, we've added pleats. Can I zoom in? So at the center back, you've got a box pleat. You've got two more little pleats at the side, but they're actually not that deep. And at the front, you just got this really interesting V detail with two more little pleats. So we're going to start with our circle skirt. So I'm going to draw in my side seams and then my center front and center back. Okay, and I'm drawing in the whole circle skirt for you, but of course you could in theory you only need to draw in half. Oh, sorry. And then you draw in whatever length you want it to be. So again, you just put your you measure how long on your center front, how long your skirt needs to be, and then you just draw in another circle. And then you can either do a full circle or on the full scale, because this is a massive pattern. I would always do half. So I would always work on a half scale, especially if it's identical. And then all you would do is we know we want a box pleat on the center back, so that becomes a cutting line. Then there's also one halfway at the back, so that's another cutting line. There's another pleat halfway at the front, and then we also got our special pleats, and this is actually quite a sculptural look. So it's you will need a lot of fabric, but the actual drafting is pretty straightforward for such an amazing look. So what we are going to do, these function exactly the same as this, but this time we're gonna fold it over again and we're gonna catch it in our seam. So it's the same method, but rather than it being loose and droopy, our detail, we're catching our detail back into our skirt. So really great method. So again, I'm gonna basically just mark the outer side of my dart, and when you're drawing a line, what you can do, if you want to make sure it's completely even, you can actually draw it from the middle, because then you always know it is straight. And then we're going to cut into all of these lines and add our pleats. So I'm not actually, let me cut out the base so you can see it better. I'm going to leave these for now because they just work as pleats. So you just add a bit of the volume. But what you do in the front one, we're going to cut it open, and then we're going to stick on some paper. So I'm just quickly checking where it meets. It overlaps, so I actually need to stick on a bit of paper here as well. So what I just checked is, can you see when you zoom in, this is your center front here. So I need to just draw it in so I know how my angle goes. And then I think this is the outside of my dart there, and this is an extra pleat. So I need to add a bit of volume here. So like this. And now I need to decide how deep I want that volume to be. So this will take me to the so I'm just going to measure on here. So this will take me to the center front, and I would do double that so it goes to the center front. But I'm actually going to bring it over a little bit as well, and you could take it all the way to the other one. So that would be 4. So just double your measurement again, and then we're just going to stick it down. And actually what we end up is a circle skirt which isn't circle anymore. Now I'm not going to quickly cut into my other pleats. And stick that on. And then on the back, of course, I've got another plate. And I think whenever you do circle skirts, it's the trickiest bit is actually just the massive pattern. And I don't I think that's probably the main reason I don't do circle skirts, because it takes so much paper. So quite often, if you've done a few, what you can get around this, but you just do the top part and then you draw the rest in on the paper. But these are my pleats. And then with the hem, you would just draw it so it's a straight curve, but I would always double check that it looks good once it's made, because a circle skirt hasn't got any shaping, but your body has shaping. It can look a bit like it's unbalanced, just because your bum, it will at your back, it has to travel a longer distance, so your final pattern doesn't actually might not be completely circular, just because it needs to round your body. So these are our pleats, and then again at the top of it, where we're going to have our pleats, I'm going to fold it in the direction I want my pleat to be, which is outwards, which is quite unusual. And then we can just cut it, or you can trace it with a tracing wheel. And that gives you the perfect pleat on all of them. And you do it on all the pleats. I'm just going to cut out so I can show you how to do the last bit. And on the hem, here where we added our weird triangle, I'm just going to smooth it out so it doesn't have a kink. So I can now fold it shut again. And can you see, that's why I wanted it to be on the half scale, on the quarter scale even, so I can all wrap it, so I can do it properly. Otherwise you just end up having a mess. And then I'm going to cut it through all the layers. So you cut it through your original layers. And that gives you the shape it then needs to lay on. And yours might look a little bit different. How do you choose? Sorry, no, I was just cutting out. Yes, I was just making up the pleats how I looked at it. And the reason because mine is not to scale, but on this here, I would do the pleats maybe 3 centimeters deep, so just over an inch. So you add 6 centimeters to each gap, because they're not that big, but of course you could make them a lot bigger. And then on here, it is basically the front overwrap. So again, it's up to you how big you make these pleats. You could make them, if you make them really big, your pattern ends up more or less square. So it becomes really interesting, because if you make the pleats really big, it basically becomes a much square piece of fabric, which makes it easier to stitch. But yes, it's up to you. And this again is actually to add a little bit of fabric paper. But yes, so this again is just up to you, however much you want it to overlap. So yours, when you finish it, yours might end up looking more like that. But it's basically what we're creating is a big triangle of volume, and then we just fold it over and you overlap it. So on your center front, you've got 5 layers of fabric. So I'm going to go back. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. The last one was a bit weird because it's so small, but I hope it all made sense. Do you think you're gonna make any of the skirts? Okay, so maybe from Sharon, that's nice to hear. You know what I think? Oh yes, definitely Nurja, that's good. And thank you for the compliments of the dress. I think that's actually when you make your own clothes, that's why you wear them all the time, isn't it? Because other makers will also appreciate them very much. I think with a technique like that, I made this dress 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But it's a method I've always loved, but it took me ages to do it. So I think it's sort of, you store it in the back of your pattern cutting brain, and then one day you come across a pattern, or you might, because you can add the same detail to the top of your sleeve, for example. So you can add it to a cuff, so you can swap it around to suit you, which is really nice. But I hope you liked this version of the live. Yes, and Sharon, for the front, if you want to make a pair of trousers with that, you can definitely do it. You would use the darts. So you would, where your darts, you open that, and then you use your darts and extra volumes to the wrap over. And it's I love that sort of look. And what you just have to do is when you may have to make a full trowel, and then just make sure it lays really flat. So you might have to pull it slightly or change the angle a bit. And I haven't seen it with a double crossover. I've seen it with a single crossover on trousers, and it looks beautiful. And then you can have the waistband can extend a bit and become like a tab, which is really nice. I used to have a pair of trousers like that, actually. So I like it. But yeah, you're completely right. So that's the sort of detail of adding volume you can use to lots of different ways. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Let me know how you like this form, and everybody else as well, because what I like is what I can swap around, but of course I can't see you, which I quite like as well. But that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I see you again soon, and I look forward to what you make with these skirts, everybody. Okay. Oh, and Sharon just loves your idea as well, so that's fantastic. So you're all going to have fantastic wraparound trousers. And now I'm quite fancy. Because my last pair, oh God, I'm going to finish in a second because I need to have some dinner. But the last time I made my trousers straight and added volume. But I think it'd be really nice if you had really wide leg trousers. So palazzo trousers with the wrap, or cigarette pants would be nice as well. Just straight, it's just a little detail. Anyway, bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me.